So, to tell us more about this particular Pokemon phenomenon and its potential dangers, our gaming expert Will Guyatt and from the NSPCC, Emily Cherry. Welcome back. Good to see you. Right, we're now completely back in the room with you. This is huge.
Yeah, and I think even Nintendo have been taken by surprise about how big this is. Pokemon's been around for about 20 years. They've been talking about doing a smartphone game for a while. I think the company has added $15 billion in value since last Wednesday when this launched. And rumours are, there's no numbers for the UK because it's only just launched, but about 25 million people are already playing in the UK. So it's bigger daily use than Snapchat.
From a gamer point of view, is it any good?
It takes the very well-known theme of Pokemon and does something very new with it. Nerds like me have been talking about this thing called augmented reality for years, which is when you get your phone and you can see the digital world in front of you. This is bringing it to people who'd never really have thought about it before, and it's brought a game and a big success much quicker than anything else, because other games haven't had such recognisable characters as Pikachu and Charizard and all of these. There's 750 species of Pokemon now. This game's currently got 150
so
species. So
they'll just drip-feed new ones in?
I would highly suspect that.
That's what will happen. OK, well, Emily, this is obviously everybody's talking about it. We're talking about this morning. It's all very exciting, but of course there are real safety concerns for this, and this is what you wanted to highlight this morning.
Absolutely. At the NSPCC, we are highly disappointed that this launch has now come in the last few minutes here in the UK, despite some quite well-documented fears around child safety. We're disappointed because we think child safety should be the utmost priority for all games makers. And we're not denying it's an exciting game. We think it's brilliant seeing your reaction this morning to connecting. To be a wonderful game potentially for children to play, but the fact that it's taking children to inappropriate locations, that they can possibly, adults can kind of use it to potentially lure children. This is something we are concerned about.
Well, the thing is, you can lure things, can't you? They're
but
called
that's no different. But that's no different to somebody. I've seen crazy examples in the press today of Pokemon gyms and people luring children to Pokemon gyms as a potential headline. You could lure somebody to a park and do the thing that's most important is I don't want to do down the advice that the NSPCC is giving because it's perfect advice. I feel it's been overlaid onto a video game in order to get attention for a very worthy cause.
I get that completely, but because the reason this is so huge and the reason we're doing it on here, we don't do that many games on here. The reason we're doing it on here is because it has changed the game a little bit. I mean, it's opened up the barriers, and there are things you can do in this game, and that's it. It's opened up the things you can do in this game that you couldn't do before. So, for instance, if you're a kid and you're lying in bed, it's 11 o'clock at night, and suddenly Pikachu appears at the post office at the end of your road, you could sneak out because you want to go and get that. And there's nothing else really that does that.
No, but parents, I've always said in the 20 years I've been doing this and talking to media, parents need to be far more aware about what their children are doing. Why not this weekend have a Pokemon adventure? Go and search for Pokemon. What Pokemon have you found today? Talk to your children. Have communication about it. And young children shouldn't be using it on their own. Let me be, unequivocal about that. That shouldn't happen. But let's not get excited and use all of these headlines that have been trotted out for video games over the decades because they apply to everything, not just video games.
I was listening to an interview with a lady yesterday, and she did exactly that. She went out with her son and they explored areas of their town that she said they'd never been to, all brilliant, all very excited. They were out and about. But she said even though she was with him, he was looking down constantly and just walking into things at best, walking into roads at worst, and he wasn't aware of his surroundings because he was looking at the world through this.
People, you have to educate people. There have been examples of people walking into the middle of lakes to find Pokemon. Stupidity happens anywhere in the world, not just on an app. This is not going to encourage people to be idiots, but what has to happen is that parents and grandparents, if they think their kids are going to be playing this, it's about a conversation, it's about the safety, and all of the work that the NSPCC does, I'm fully behind.
There are now hundreds of millions of users around the world. For everything that we play, everything that we do, there will always be that dark side. Even for selfies, there are people who've fallen off cliffs because they were taking selfies. So surely isn't it just as you just said then, it's just down to the fact that there will always be a darker side or an idiot?
There will always be a darker side, but this is where games makers have a responsibility. So, you know, safety applications could have been put in part. I think I've seen the sign-up process for this, and when a child signs up, there's not enough verification, not enough safety messages that are then given to that child.
They get told to look out for their surroundings.
They get told to look out for their surroundings. I'm not sure that's a sufficient enough safety message for children. I think it needs to be much more than that.
What would you have liked to have seen?
So we would like to see privacy settings set to much more kind of a default setting. So if you're under the age of 18, location features, all of those types of things gets turned off, so that potential to talk to other adults, for other adults and people to see where you are going, isn't there as part of this app. Now,
you cannot talk or communicate to adults in this game. There is no way of sharing that information.
Other adults can put up beacons so that children can actually see they found a Pokemon in that area.
They are not directly communicating with them.
That's where some of the concerns
but
come.
just to take that point,
Yes.
because that is an area of concern, and parents watching this will have an area of concern to say, right, okay, you can drop a lure, and so therefore, you know, the creatures that you're attempting to catch will be attracted to that area.
Yes.
So what is to stop? And I know this is extreme, and I know that gamers say, oh, for God's sake, you keep giving those examples, but it is a real example. You could drop a lure in a dark alley and just wait for the people to arrive with their phones.
Without belittling the situation, you could stand on a street with a load of ice creams. I don't want to be glib, but that is the reality is here. We need to have more sophisticated and debate and discussion about this, because I feel video games are not a small thing. Your report itself said, oh, gamers have come out of their bedroom. More people game. More people are playing this game than are watching this show today. So there has to be an acceptance now that video games isn't this little dark hobby that nerds and overweight people like me play in their rooms. It should be something that we all accept and we all talk about and we all have conversation as adults.
But it does get you out. It gets you out. Could get you out if you use it properly. Could get you out with your family, as you say. You could organise trips with your family.
And it's fair to say this can be quite an exciting game for children to play, but there also has to be an acceptance by the games industry, by all online industry, and parents and teachers that the responsibility to keep children safe is the priority.
Thank you both
have
very
to leave
much.
it there.
Yeah,
Thank you
fascinating
both
stuff.
very much indeed.